I never thought moving to a quiet suburban street would turn into a war zone controlled by an HOA I wasn't even part of, but life has the sense of humor that hits you when you least expect it. The day I bought the house, I felt like I was finally stepping into peace. A small yard, a big garage, a calm neighborhood, perfect. But what I didn't know was that the peace was already owned by a board of self-appointed neighborhood tyrants who believed every street, sidewalk, and mailbox belonged to them. The trouble started 3 weeks after I moved in. A police cruiser pulled up to my driveway just as I was unloading groceries. The officer stepped out, softened his tone, and asked if everything was okay. I was confused. Apparently, someone had reported a suspicious activity at my house. Suspicious activity meaning me carrying milk into my own home. At first, I brushed it off as a mistake. Maybe a confused neighbor, maybe a misunderstanding, maybe just a bored resident with too much time on their hands. But it wasn't a mistake, it was the beginning. 3 days later, police came again. This time, I was illegally operating a business out of my garage. I wasn't. The officer walked in, took one look at my completely normal garage and shrugged. You got nosy neighbors, huh? I didn't know how nosy until the 4th time the police showed up. And then the 5th. And then the 8th. It became routine. I'd be eating dinner and red and blue lights would flash through the window. I'd be mowing my yard and a cop would pull up. I'd be asleep and pounding fists would wake me, demanding I answer the door. Every time I was suspicious. Every time the report was vague. Every time the calls were anonymous. But the pattern wasn't. The calls always came after race President Linda Carver walked past my house, glaring with narrowed eyes like she was trying to burn my walls down with her thoughts. At first, I tried being polite. I greeted her. She ignored me. I waved. She looked away. I said a good morning. She stared like I had personally offended the entire HOA lineage. Then, one afternoon, she marched up to me while I was washing my truck and demanded to know why I had not registered my home with the HOA. I calmly explained my house was not in her HOA community. I even showed her the property map. She didn't care. She insisted the HOA oversees this entire block, even though the HOA legally ended 3 streets over. My house was built before the HOA ever existed. It had never belonged to them. Not legally. Not financially. Not in any universe where logic existed. But Linda didn't like logic. Linda liked power. And when she realized she couldn't control me, she escalated. The police calls doubled, then tripled. Sometimes she'd call them twice in the same day. Noise complaint. Illegal construction. Unsafe property. Suspicious strangers, a possible weapon, a possible hostage situation. She threw every lie she could think of. And through all of it, the officers were professional. Embarrassed even. They apologized every time. Some told me, we know it's fake, but we're obligated to check. I understood. But I also understood something else. This was harassment. Coordinated. Calculating. Targeted. I knew I needed proof. Actual undeniable evidence. So I installed security cameras around the property. High resolution, wide angle, motion activated, audio capable cameras. Not just the usual doorbell stuff. I installed a full perimeter system with cloud storage, and that decision changed everything. My footage didn't just reveal harassment, it revealed crimes. Late one night around 2:15 a.m., the motion alert pinged my phone. At first I thought it was a raccoon, until I saw the footage, Linda herself walking onto my property with a flashlight. She snooped around my truck, peered into my garage windows, and even tried the side gate like she owned the place. She was trespassing. Kufa. In the middle of the night, with intent, I watched the footage 5 times just to make sure it wasn't a dream. Then, only a week later, another alert came. This time, she wasn't alone. 2 HOA board members were with her, carrying clipboards, taking photos of my yard, my windows, even the inside of my shed when they opened it without permission. They were documenting my property for some kind of a violation package. That night, I saved every clip, multiple angles, clear faces. So clear audio. They whispered things like, let's find something we can write him up for. He's going to learn we run this neighborhood. Just call the cops again tomorrow. These people were sabotaging my peace like it was their job. So I waited, patiently, quietly, while the police kept coming like clockwork because I needed more, and I got it. One afternoon, I was working on my fence when a police cruiser arrived for the 3rd time that week. The officer stepped out shaking his head. Sir, President Linda is claiming you pulled a gun on her. A gun. I froze. It was a felony accusation, a lie that could destroy a life. I told the officer I had never even spoken to her that day. He sighed and asked if I had cameras. I smiled. Oh yeah, I had cameras. We walked inside and I pulled up the footage. There she was at the exact time she claimed I threatened her, standing on the sidewalk talking to another board member drinking iced coffee. No fear, no panic, no confrontation. Nothing remotely resembling her story. The officer watched the footage twice, then leaned back in disbelief. She lied. Sick. And not a small lie. He asked permission to take a copy. I handed him every angle, every timestamp. You just saved yourself a world of trouble, he said. But I knew I saved more than myself, because I also saved the truth. And the truth was about to blow this HOA wide open. 2. I didn't hear anything for a few days after handing the footage to the officer. No cop visits. No HOA members lurking outside. No fake complaints. The silence felt suspicious. Then one morning, Linda returned, but this time she wasn't subtle. She marched straight to my driveway with 2 men I'd never seen before. One wore a badge around his neck. The other carried a stack of papers. She pointed at me like she was summoning lightning. That's him. He's been threatening me, harassing me, recording me illegally. Before she could finish, the man with the badge stepped forward and said the most beautiful sentence I've ever heard. Ma, you need to stop talking. We have a warrant. Linda blinked like she didn't understand English. E-warrant? For him? No, ma'am, the officer said. Or for you? The silence that followed was the kind you feel in your bones. Then they turned her around. Then they cuffed her hands. Then she screamed. And her screams were priceless. When I say this neighborhood is mine, you listen, she shouted, kicking and yelling as the officers pulled her toward the car. I stood watching, arms crossed, calm as a mountain. One of the officers approached me afterward and explained everything. Linda had been investigated for false police reports, harassment, stalking, illegal trespassing, attempted evidence, fabrication, misuse of emergency services. My footage didn't just help, it was the case. Every video, every clip, every timestamp. The officers told me the DA moved fast because the evidence was undeniable, continuous, and deliberate. Other homeowners also came forward after learning what happened to me. Apparently, she'd used the same tactics on multiple neighbors over the years. The HOA board collapsed within 2 weeks of her arrest. Most members resigned immediately. A temporary state-appointed administrator took over until legal restructuring. Some neighbors apologized to me. Some avoided me. Some thanked me quietly like they were afraid the remaining board members might hear. But the best moment happened a month later. Officer Ramirez, the one who had responded to many of the fake calls, stopped by during his patrol. You know she's officially sentenced, right? He said with a grin. For how long? A 6 months jail time, 2 years probation, and a permanent ban from serving on any HOA board. I laughed harder than I had in months. Justice didn't just happen. It landed. And it landed hard. A few nights later, I sat on my porch watching the sunset, finally breathing a kind of peace I hadn't felt since moving in. It was almost funny. All those months she spent trying to control me, terrorize me, intimidate me, she never realized she was digging her own grave. All I did was press a record. I didn't win by shouting. I didn't win by fighting. I won by letting her expose herself. And the footage she thought would hurt me is exactly what sent her straight to jail.